So we had another Unearthed Arcana this week, focused on the Warlock. I am very, very, very excited for this. This is very, I have a character this is perfect for, obviously. For myself, that's part of the excitement. And I love spooky stuff. I grew up on Hammer horror films. I love Sleepy Hollow.
Yes.
I love What We Do in the Shadows. I like Ravenloft. I like all these spooky things. I'll watch anything with vampires and werewolves at least once. So I'm very excited about anything gothic.
Well, how about we switch it up? How about I read these features and you gush about them?
Okay.
Because we did the opposite for the bard.
All right, you do
So
it.
here we go. The Undead is an entity that resides in the dark corners of the multiverse. Your patron could be Haeck, Azaleen, Lord Soth, Strahd, or some other ancient undead being. You may seek to gain knowledge from your patron's countless lifetimes of experience, while it may see you as a piece of a centuries-long plan. Awesome right out of the gate.
Yeah, this is lovely, and I love all these. I'm very, very familiar with all these examples. Haeck, Azalin. I say Azalin for some reason. Lord Soth, Strahd. I like that you have been interwoven into a greater story of a being that is ancient and is also that has this kind of, well, except for Lord Soth, a genius level intellect. So you don't know what the end game necessarily is.
Burn on Lord Soth.
Well, burn on old Lord Soth. but certainly we'll go ahead and skip across that comparison that we have the Undying Warlock. Well, I feel like this feels very differently, and just because the Undying Warlock exists does not mean we don't want this flavor and perhaps a more mechanically way sound or a more storytelling way that makes a little bit more sense. Because certainly in that regard, I feel like the Undying was very associated with liches. This just associates you with anything kind of gothic. And I love that. Like, I could see an ancient, like, a very wizened werewolf, right? That you also somehow were attached to. Well, that's not undead, but you see what I mean. Like, I think there's more wiggle room for story with this.
Yeah, I agree. The Undying patron is all about you not dying. It's about you cheating death a lot.
Exactly.
This has a more sort of I will corrupt life to my own dark ends sort of feel to it. So even though they're quite close, I think they're different enough for people to, once they actually look at them, feel the distinctiveness there.
You're doing very different things. Mechanically, they are very different, except for maybe the grave touch features.
Okay, let's dive into these features. Expanded spell list, a classic warlock thing. The Undead lets you choose from an expanded list of spells when you learn a warlock spell, etc., etc. For the first 9 levels of your warlock career, Bane and False Life, Blindness, Deafness, Phantasmal Force, Speak with Dead, Phantom Steed. Phantom Steed's a very interesting one to put on the spell list, I think.
I love it, though.
It's very kind of Sleepy Hollow, almost.
Yes.
Death Ward, Greater Invisibility. You got to be an invisible ghost. Anti-Life Shell. I don't see that spell used very much. So if it's on a guaranteed spell list, that's what I'd like to see. Kind of rare, unused spells being always available.
Yeah.
And Cloud Kill. I love Cloud Kill.
These are, I don't use Bane a lot. As a warlock, you're always keeping an eye on spells because they're at max casting, right?
So Bane's a great one to have warlocked for you.
Yeah. So Bane, False Life, Blindness, and Deafness. These are very powerful, kind of shut things down, very necromantic. Phantasmal Force is great, that fear. I feel like you could be summoning banshees in someone's mind. Speak with Dead makes a lot of sense. I do like Phantom Steed for exactly what you said. It's that Legend of Sleepy Hollow fantasy. I
am always wary of casting spells that don't scale as a warlock. So I don't know. Maybe it's just I have a need for efficiency in my mind somehow.
Right. Absolutely. And there's a lot of that here. Death Ward, Greater Invisibility. How many of these scale? I'm not quite sure.
I don't want to take the time to count them all,
Yeah,
but I know Bane does.
Bane scales.
Yeah. There's a fair few of them. It's not all of them. I'd say just glancing at it, maybe it's about 50-50.
Yeah, we got Cloud Kill is strong. It's a strong spell. So Anti-Life Shell, I feel like, is pretty strong as well. You don't see it used a lot, but I like the idea that you can exude anti-life.
Yeah. Let's move to Form of Dread.
Right.
You manifest an aspect of your patron's dreadful power. As a bonus action, you transform for 1 minute. You gain the following benefits while transformed. 1, you gain temporary hit points equal to 1d10 plus your warlock level. Nice. Once during each of your turns, when you hit a creature with an attack, you can force it to make a wisdom saving throw, and if they fail, the target is frightened of you until the end of your next turn. Great. You yourself are immune to being frightened. You can transform a number of times equal to a proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. The appearance of your Form of Dread reflects some aspect of your patron. For example, your form could be a shroud of shadows forming the crown and robes of your lich patron. Your face might transform into bat-like features due to your vampire patron. I love flavorful stuff like this.
Oh, I love it. It's so great. I love that you get what you want at level 1. You get, this is my creepy gothic vampiric form, my creepy skeletal zombie form, basically, that happens to you immediately. You look like maybe a banshee for a second. 1 minute is super long. This is really strong. And what's interesting for me is, though I do love the Hex Blade, I feel like this is a strong contender for Pact of the Blade, as well, for a Warlock, because look at these temporary hit points. That's 1d10 plus your Warlock level. You're coming into battle.
Yeah.
Buffed.
Dan Dillon, who was involved in the designing of this class, mentioned on Twitter that he would love to see Undead Warlocks adopt sort of a Death Knight aesthetic with a big old great axe or great sword. And
yes.
Any new Warlock patron that gives cool stuff for Pact of the Blade other than Hexblade is a win in my book.
Yeah. I because now we can have that melee Warlock, and I know I might be saying that weird because I didn't speak a lot as a kid, and I read a lot. So, but now everything translates. Some people say melee, but so you right away you get those temporary hit points. If you hit a creature, you can force it to take a wisdom saving throw and actually be afraid of you. This gives you advantage, or it gives it disadvantage against you. Do you have advantage against it?
It's even better than that. It has disadvantage on basically everything as long as it can see you.
Oh,
so fear is powerful. I don't think people give fear quite the respect it deserves sometimes.
Right,
it's strong in this edition of D&D.
If you got some elven accuracy on top of this, now you're just fishing for crits. And if you got Eldritch Smite, then this explodes.
Man.
Yeah. So I mean, this is great for a Blade Lock. This is like this potentially is the new Blade Lock class, depending on how you want to play that. I love it. And mainly, I just want to look like a vampire. I just want to be a lich. I just want to be a little undead boy. So that's my excitement.
I can imagine sort of a half Undead Warlock, half Oathbreaker Paladin, and I'm just dreaming of Wrath of the Lich King all over again.
Yeah, or even like Oath of Vengeance. I think those two mix very well.
Oath of Conquest, even.
Oh yeah. Or maybe you only did 2 Paladin dips so you can get that double smite and waste all your spell slots.
Yeah. Okay, Grave Touched at 6th level. Your patron's powers have a profound effect on your body and magic. You don't need to eat, drink, or breathe. Okay? In addition, when you hit a creature with an attack and roll damage against the creature, you can replace the damage type with necrotic damage. Cool. When you're using your Form of Dread, you can roll 1 additional damage die when determining the necrotic damage the target takes.
I expect this is cause to stir. So what's interesting about this is, okay, say you are using a greatsword, you are now adding this damage on top of that. So you could be doing 3d6. That's fantastic if you're wielding a blade. However, if you are now using your, this grave touched feature and you're casting Eldritch Blast, you're adding another d10 on every ray.
On every ray.
On every ray.
Wow.
I know this feels very powerful. It feels very enjoyable. Often I feel like Unearthed Arcana are sometimes very powerful themselves and are scaled back later. I don't feel like this breaks the world to the extent that I obviously, hey, this potentially is the blaster for Eldritch Blast. You have Agonizing Blast, you roll each of your rays, but it takes a while to get all those rays. I mean, even at 6th level, you've only got 2 Eldritch Blasts, I believe.
Another point of consideration for if you're going the blade lock route is that if you are playing with a dungeon master who's kind of stingy about handing out magic weapons, just like how monks at 6th level get, your unarmed attacks are magical.
Absolutely.
Necrotic damage is magic damage.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about bludgeoning, piercing, slashing resistance anymore while you're doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. You are now quite adept. And I do wonder what the future is for that Eldritch Blast doing that much damage as a cantrip. Do I feel like it ends all things? I don't feel like warlocks necessarily do always a massive amount of damage necessarily. I get the argument that a cantrip shouldn't be too powerful. This is just I get all arguments, but if you focused all your Eldritch Blasts at that single character, I wonder how I would rule this as a DM. So I think this requires some back and forth between you and your DM.
Agreed.
It's not Fireball. So
my gut tells me this is a lot with Eldritch Blast. I would love to see it. I would love to see it tilt towards the melee warlock power level just a little bit more, just because I love it.
Or first level spell and above, maybe.
That's an interesting idea.
We see that very often be outlined.
I wouldn't mind seeing that, actually. Yeah.
Because I do want myself a necrotic fireball. Well, you don't get fireball, but there are spells that would be charming, right? To suddenly turn necrotic, and we've got Cloud Kill, we've got a lot of what a warlock does is already necrotic, but it's fun flavor to turn some of those around and make them evil and sinister. So
yes,
and it's great for getting around resistances, as you said. So what we got next?
Husk. Your connection to undeath and necrotic energy now saturates your body. You have resistance to necrotic damage. If you are transformed using your form of dread, you become immune to necrotic damage. Okay, that's a good start already. But in addition, when you are reduced to 0 hit points, you can cause your body to explode. Each creature within 30 feet of you takes necrotic damage equal to 2d10 plus your warlock level. You then revive with 1 hit point in your previous space along with your gear, and you gain 1 level of exhaustion. Once you revive in this way, you can't do so again until you finish 1d4 long rests.
So this is something that very much behooves you to be in the thick of combat.
Yes.
I love it. I was just theory crafting. If you're in the fight, you can really take down an enemy by doing nothing. If you're a warlock and you have Hellish Rebuke, you get hit, you set them on fire. You've also got Armor of Agathis on. They take all of those temporary, which, that this doesn't stack with your temporary hit points, so the synergy isn't completely there. But they could take those temporary hit points as damage as well. They could take up to like 50 points of damage, and then they take the damage from you exploding plus your warlock's level. So even if you get hit, and you're swinging this great sword, you're like lopping heads off left and right. You explode, and I like the idea your body just getting gross and viscous and exploding over everyone and becoming a bomb, or also just I could see necrotic energy coming out of you like a wave, like your banshee scream. I feel like you flavor this in a number of ways. I like the grossness of it. It's called Mortal Husk. It punishes people for hitting you. I love that stuff. I love reflective effects.
I have one want out of this feature, and it's that when you explode, you immediately show up again with 1 hit point, which means there are good. If your explosion doesn't just kill everything, there are good odds you'll just be like boom, and then you're back, and then it's the next enemy's turn. They poke you and you die.
Yeah.
I think I would like to see you revive at the start of your next turn, just that you're like dead on the ground for a couple of seconds. People can't just like needle you after you've done your cool death explosion, and then you're back, and then it's your turn, and then you can do something cool out of it.
Now it does say that it does not require a reaction.
Yeah, no reaction.
So I could see you layering this with something like the Tomb of Levistus and causing ice to surround you to give you that moment of reprieve, right? You explode, then you turn to ice.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I can see some
idea.
A little bit of reason. It gives you more of a reason to use Tomb of Levistus if you are exploding all over the place. All right, we got the final capstone.
Yes.
I love this subclass. I'm sorry, I like it so much. I can't wait to play it.
So here we have it, the pinnacle, spirit projection. Your body is now simply a vessel for your spirit. As an action, you can project that spirit from your body. The body you leave behind is unconscious and in a state of suspended animation. Your spirit can remain outside your body for up to 1 hour or until your concentration is broken, as if concentrating on a spell. When your projection ends, your spirit returns to your body, or your body magically teleports to your spirit's space, your choice. While projecting your spirit, you gain the following benefits. Your spirit and body gain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. You cast a spell of the Conjuration or Necromancy School. The spell doesn't require any components that lack a gold cost. Wow. You have a flying speed equal to your walking speed and can hover. You can move through creatures and objects in very difficult terrain, but you take 1d10 force damage if your turn set creature and object, standard incorporeal stuff. While you are using your form of dread, once during each of your turns, when you deal necrotic damage to a creature, you regain hit points equal to half the amount of necrotic damage dealt. Vampiric touch sort of effect. And once you use this feature, this entire spirit projection, you cannot do so again until you finish a long rest. Super cool. I love transformation abilities. I love them to death. Yeah. And this is a very fun looking one.
It's kind of like the Oath of the Ancients becoming a giant tree man. This is the opposite end of this. You just becoming this deathly, scary creature. You project your spirit. So I guess that does push you in the area that you're using spells, right? Very interesting if you decide to cast Shadow Blade and still keep that kind of death, Death Knight like flavor.
This does make me wonder if you keep all of your gear as spiritual gear with you. I think I would rule if you do. Like if I'm imagining this from a villainous NPC's point of view, right? If I've got my sort of Lich King monster going on here,
right?
And he kneels down in some hidden sanctum and sends his spirit out to harry the characters. I would want him to be in full armor and gear,
right?
While he's doing so, I wouldn't want him to walk out naked, you know. So that's how I would rule it, but it's unclear. I think you could rule it either way.
It's a great capstone for a warlock. This gives me something to look forward to.
Yeah.
In such a huge way. They all do. Like, this is everything you want.
Yeah.
Potentially some clarification as to the necrotic damage that occurs on grave touched. Again, I don't think that ends or breaks the game. I don't feel like this overall is overpowered. The spell list is evocative, but I don't feel like the spell list is overpowered at all. I think this just really scratches an itch, and it does give you that I want to be a vampire, I want to be a ghost, or partially so. I want to be that Death Knight. And on top of this, that the whole feature is, God, being immune to necrotic damage. This makes you very interesting for some AoEs from the rest of your party. You can just dance around in them and not be affected. And I love the flavor of, like, you no longer need to eat or breathe or I believe even sleep.
I I think you
You
still
don't
have
need
to
to eat
sleep.
or breathe, or you don't need to eat, drink, or breathe. That's fantastic. You can do some really creepy stuff with that. So I imagine a very sneaky sneak attack where you're like in a puddle of water face down and somebody walks past you. You get like a nice sneak attack, or just playing dead. I mean, it's like permanent feign death in a way.
I'm very interested in this subclass. I'm really excited for it because it's got such a good balance of features that are flavorful and evocative, and also seem mechanically sound. Um, my my uh, my stance on like judging the mechanics of the subclass is always playtest. If you're not playtesting, you have nothing to stand on because you have not seen what it can actually do. You've only imagined it. And this is just a subclass that I want to play. I just want to play it. And if that has been satisfied just by reading it, then I know we're onto something.
Then it's a big win. I am actually going to transition my character on Silver and Steel to this ASAP. It's so my jam.
Can you tell us who your undead patron will be, Abram?
Well, canonically. It's very interesting. It's timey-wimey, but he made a deal with his own lich self in the future, which is the most Avron thing you could do. So it's an endless loop of he has to take orders from himself from the future to a degree, and there's this certain level of, imagine trying to argue with your teenage self or yourself when you were 8, right? And you're ancient and like a million years old. Like, at what point are you in fact a different person? So it's a weird question. So I like those, but I love the idea of being like, you're connected to Strahd, you're connected to a Zaylan or a Serarak, or
imagine playing in Curse of Strahd as this guy, and you've got kind of this like
that you've got that direct relationship
going on the whole time.
What if you didn't even know, and you didn't even know Strahd was your benefactor until the end? It's very Luke, I am your father.
Yes. I am the voice you have heard all this time.
Exactly. I also like the idea of Lord Soth having warlocks running around Kryn. So I'm in love with it. This is I'm jealous I didn't make it. I adore it. Can't wait to play it. I like creepy stuff, so if you do too, this is fantastic. We've got a few. We're going to go ahead and go a little bit long, just because we've got a lot of questions, and we'll try to breeze through these. Question: do you need to have a gaming set to do the College of Spirits? It's interesting. They mention a gaming set, but then we don't really talk about it.
They bring up a Tarot deck in the midst of it all. But I have a hunch that the gaming set they're talking about is just a vestigial bit of design. I think it may have at one point have been more focused around like knucklebone dice and tarot cards and stuff like that. But
actual knucklebones
moved away from it and just like didn't take out the gaming set.
Right, I can see that rewrite. So another question: does the target aim the fire blast for the dragon? I would assume yes.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
Otherwise, it'd be super weird. I mean, amusing if you have it come out somewhere else, I guess.
You can have it, but I am the one who aims.
I determine what orifice the fire comes out of.
It's like in Fury Road when Furiosa puts the sniper rifle on Max's shoulder.
Yeah,
it's like I may have given you this, but I am aiming.
Such a bad idea. I always worry for his ear at that moment. I'm like, no. Can Lord Soth still be your patron even when he's covered in ice cream floating in the astral plane? I don't believe that this is a real question, Lauren Urban. I noticed that there is no Twitch handle attached to this. I feel like this is a dig at our previous adventure on Fire and Forge. Yes, they can still be your patron even if Lord Soth is covered in ice cream. I have let that story get away from me. And as I have,
in fact, he's angrier than usual in that scenario.
Yeah, infuriated, I would expect. Not that he's ever been happy. Then we've got a person who is from chat. Someone pointed out to me that an ancient Dracolich can now be your patron. And I am 100% on board. Yes, this is because so many people have asked for that dragon patron for warlocks before, but the Dracolich one makes the most sense. Dracolich warlock patron. It's very interesting.
Cool. I'm trying to think of like in lore Dracoliches that we all know of.
Yeah, I can't drop one in my brain right now, but like that, I love the option. I like where the head is, and when you look at the whole swath of different ancient undead, it can get very interesting.
I'm sure you could go digging around in old 3rd, 2nd edition Forgotten Realms or 3rd, 4th edition Eberron.
Yeah.
Find a Dracolich. Oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
This is a great question. That came from Ganon Thorn from Twitch, and I think that's a fantastic observation. Plus, I like the idea of a Dracolich who is so tired of humanoids trying to kill it, right? And as a dragon as well, these adventurers keep on trying to kill me. Well, fine, I will have my own knight now, and I will send them out to do my bidding, and this will be my paladin. We get other question. Thoughts on pairing this with a conquest paladin as an undead warlock? I say yes. Obviously, be careful with that double smiting. I'm tempted to even do it now because you're gonna blow through all your spell slots. That's the danger of being a warlock is for that to work, because very specifically, a warlock has to use a warlock spell slot to pull off Eldritch Smite. Paladins can use any spell slot. So just something to keep in mind.
You wish that there's a warlock invocation that gives you extra attack. I wish that it's stacked with like extra attack from another class feature. I think that would be fun.
That would get very dangerous very quickly.
You get out of control.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to be level 5 in 2 things, though.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would argue, take Mirror Image, take Sentinel. Someone hits your mirror image, you get an automatic attack on them as a reaction. So, that's how I play Averin. Question from, I don't know how to pronounce that. Spirit projection does damage per turn, so could your spirit trigger opportunity attacks? It's an interesting question.
Is your spirit a creature? Is
exactly
really the question that's being asked here.
Yeah.
I would say yes.
I would too. Yes, otherwise, you're getting really. Yeah. I mean, solid. And then Lauren Urban says, it's a real question. It's just my question. Fair enough. We've got Dark Pun Dealer question. If you choose Pack of the Blade and use Spirit Projection thing, can you still use your weapon? That's what we kind of want clarification on, actually.
I would
argue yes, because you've gone all in. I feel like you should. Though, where is your sword, though? Do you create? It's a hard one, because your body is still lying there.
Yeah, I would just want all of your relevant equipment to appear as a sort of spectral form around you, right? We don't want the warlock coming out of their body naked.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you do.
Yeah. I mean, to each his own.
Go wild.
All good questions, chat. I'm very excited for the subclass. I can't wait to start playtesting it. I'm going to playtest it till we get it for real. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I've ever been this excited. And I'm excited for all kind. I've been excited for a lot of UA. I love the lurker and the deep warlock. I thought it was fantastic. All this other stuff, but this just makes sense for me. I tried playing an Undying Warlock and I didn't connect because I didn't want to just be immortal. I wanted that vampire fantasy a little bit, that creepy thing in the night. And this scratches that itch. James, hey, thank you for all of your observations and for going on this journey with me, checking out the Bard, which has so much. Any closing thoughts on either of these subclasses? I think they're super fun and evocative.
These are both super cool, spooky subclasses that if you're gearing up for a Halloween game, if you're gearing up for some one-shot Ravenloft stuff for Halloween, this is stuff that you should be putting in front of your players like right now.
Right.
Get them excited about this.
If you want to bring Ravenloft to anywhere, you bring the horror with you. But this is also great now. You can really have that whole group of of everyone who's creepy. You got the bard, you've got the warlock, you've got like the gloom stalker, you got
I would love to see a spooky subclass for every class. What's our edgy goth D&D party look like with one of every class in it?
Exactly. Obviously, you have that Death Domain cleric. The druid spores, I would argue, can be a little bit of that, but
Oathbreaker paladin, yeah.
Oathbreaker paladin for sure. The thief, we've got the Phantom coming out.
Yeah,
the UA already came out, so that's terrifying. You stab someone so hard, someone else gets hurt. So that's some real stuff. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, James Haeck, for joining me. We'll be back next week talking about more really cool stuff. And be kind to each other. Have a great day.